Imagine a detective who never sleeps. He doesn't knock on doors, and he doesn't chase leads. He searches the internet. He compares DNA to distant cousins, long dead or unknown. He sifts through generations of family trees, connecting invisible threads. And he might be the reason a 65-year-old cold case finally finds its truth. Cold cases are the ghosts of the criminal world. They linger in evidence rooms, under fluorescent lights, waiting decades for someone to notice them. Take the boy in the box. For 65 years, investigators tried every lead. Flyers, newspaper articles, witness interviews, every avenue seemed to hit a wall. The mystery of Joseph Augustus Zarelli's death was not only about the crime itself, but the decades of silence surrounding him. He had been erased from public knowledge. No missing reports. No frantic parents. No trace. But science had quietly changed the rules. DNA, once a fragile promise of justice, had evolved into a powerful tool. It could reconstruct family trees, identify distant relatives, and breathe life into cases thought unsolvable. For Joseph, the technology that revealed his name wasn't just a breakthrough. It was a revolution, a chance to restore identity to someone the world had ignored for over 6 decades. But how did it work? And how did it turn decades of cold silence into answers? Think of DNA as a map. Every person carries markers, small sequences that are unique yet connected to family. When investigators began uploading unknown profiles into public genealogy databases, a new kind of detective emerged. He doesn't knock on doors. He doesn't chase suspects down streets. He sits in front of a computer. He compares DNA to distant cousins, sometimes hundreds of times removed. With each match, each tiny connection, the fog lifts slightly. Old family trees are reconstructed, branch by branch, like a puzzle spanning generations. The process is painstaking. A single small fragment of DNA can take months to place, analyzing patterns across millions of potential relatives. Then comes verification, making sure that distant cousin is connected correctly, tracing migration paths, cross-referencing historical records. Every detail must be accurate, because a false lead could derail the case completely. For cold cases, this is monumental. A piece of hair, a drop of blood, a cheek swab, suddenly, it's a bridge to the past. And it isn't just theory. It works. The first breakthrough using this method was the Golden State Killer case. Then came dozens of others, including cases no one had touched for decades. The boy in the box became the perfect example. DNA from preserved tissue. Compared across public databases, revealed distant relatives, then closer relatives, then finally his family. Imagine decades of unanswered questions, suddenly converging into a single path. Imagine the relief for a family who had never known if a child was gone or alive. Forensic genealogy doesn't just identify victims. It identifies suspects. Take decades-old homicides. Once, without witnesses or reliable leads, these cases would remain cold forever. Now, genealogists can link DNA at crime scenes to family trees, trace surnames, and reconstruct identities, sometimes leading directly to suspects or exonerating the wrongly accused. It's painstaking work. Hours in front of screens. Analyzing patterns. Connecting dots across centuries of migration. Comparing tiny genetic markers to millions of records. It's almost like time travel, reconstructing lives from fragments left behind, and the results are staggering. In some cases, families learn truths they never expected: a missing child's identity, a previously unknown killer, a decades-old mystery solved without a single witness still alive. Yet it's not infallible. Genealogical investigations can be slowed by incomplete records, privacy protections, and sometimes ethical dilemmas, like revealing family secrets that were long buried. And even when solved, these cases can reopen old wounds for the family members involved. Still, the progress is undeniable. The detective in the database is changing the very nature of cold case investigation. And the human stories behind these cases make the victories emotional, heartbreaking, and unforgettable. If you're fascinated by how modern science resurrects old mysteries, hit like and subscribe. Because the next section uncovers the most dramatic cases solved using this technology. And the results are both inspiring and chilling. Consider some striking cases. The Golden State Killer, crime spanning decades, finally connected to Joseph James DeAngelo, thanks to genealogical DNA. A man who terrorized communities in the 1970s and 1980s was finally identified, decades after his last crime. April Tinsley murder case, a young girl abducted in 1988, DNA led detectives to John Miller in 2021, decades after the crime, giving her family long overdue closure. Joseph Augustus Zarelli, identified after 65 years as the unknown child, giving closure to a mystery the nation had pondered for generations. Every solved case is a window into both history and human behavior. The technology doesn't just tell us who, it tells us how families, communities, and criminals intersect across time. But it also introduces a strange paradox: the more we uncover, the more mysteries appear. DNA might give a name, but it can't always give context, motive, or justice. It tells us what happened to the victim, but not always who did it, why, or how. Yet it is undeniable, these cold cases no longer belong solely to the past. They are active investigations, guided by algorithms, databases, and patient detectives who never leave their screens. Each solved case inspires a new one, creating a chain reaction of revelations that can span decades. The implications are profound. Victims finally receive identities. Families finally find closure. Crimes thought unsolvable now have a roadmap. Even the smallest clues, a hair, a fingerprint, a bone fragment, can speak across decades. Joseph Augustus Zarelli's case proves it. A child erased from records, unnamed for 65 years, finally given a voice through science. But what about the killers? The unresolved crimes? DNA gives a path, but not always the full story. Investigators still face mysteries, ethical dilemmas, and the haunting reality that not every perpetrator will be found. Still, the revolution is here. Cold cases aren't frozen in time anymore. They are evolving. And every year, more long-forgotten victims finally get their names back. In our next video, we'll explore the dangers and limitations of crowdsourced social sleuthing. When the public dives in, AI generates false leads, theories go viral, and sometimes investigations are derailed. From heroes to hazards, we'll see what happens when everyone becomes a detective, and how that affects real-life investigations. If you're amazed by how DNA is solving decades-old mysteries, subscribe and hit the bell. Share your thoughts. Which cold case do you think modern forensic genealogy will solve next? Your comment could inspire the discussion in our next video. Because in the world of cold cases, science speaks. And sometimes, it whispers justice.